about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots.
Watch for the great block by Keith Byars on Pepper Johnson. Bam! Right there. Byars just nailed it.
He's Dayton's own Keith Byars. It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome to the Keith Byars Radio Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Phone number to call is 937-457-9464. One more time, 937-457-9464. Or you can let your fingers do the tweeting. You can tweet me at KAB41. Is my Twitter handle, and you feel free to reach out to me. Today is Monday, fresh week, fresh start of the work week. May 3rd, so shout out to my oldest nephew, Reggie Byars. He's 40 today. Wow. But he has a young uncle. His uncle can't be that much older. I have a nephew 40, so I can't be that much older than him. But I am. But shout out, young man. We wish you happy birthday. So good on you. Enjoy and have a great day. What is going on? The coronavirus is still out there, guys. Even though the numbers are coming down here in Ohio, we're doing better and better and better. But let's not relax. You see what's going on over in India. So we're staying masked up. Keep your social distance. Keep your numbers small. And we'll be where we want to be. Hopefully come fall, when it's football season, when you want to fill in stadiums and cheer for your favorite team on Friday night, high school, and Saturday watching the Buckeyes, and Sunday watching your Browns and the Bengals play. So let's take care of one another. Let's continue to look out for each other. A little breaking news this morning. The University of Dayton Arena, they're going to host the state basketball high school championships for the men and women, or the girls and boys, however you want to, say that, starting next year in 2022, all the way for a 3-year contract through 2024. So good on that. So hopefully our local teams qualify for the state championship, and we don't have to drive to Columbus or drive to some other part of Ohio to see them play. They're going to be right here in our backyard. So coaches, men and women coaches, hey, we want to see some local talent, show up in the state semifinals and bring home keep home some state championship banners. So, but it's good the University of Dayton Arena will be there. I'll be there hopefully in the arena watching the youngsters go at it and ball out on, the men and women. So that would be great. But yeah, that is good news here for the greater Dayton area. They're going to be hosting the high school state championships for the men and women. So good. Well, what else happened? We had the NFL Draft. Just happened last Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not Sunday, but Sunday, still some NFL news. Draft picks were being signed, to free agents, and, giving you an opportunity to fulfill your childhood dreams of playing in the National Football League. So that was good. And that means the Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock, and the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. And I'm going to get into my draft grades, both of them. But I think my producer wants to give a shout out to the Cincinnati Bengals fans early. And Justin, take it from there, because I think you have a promotion that you want to promote.
So we did the draft night special last Thursday. Seems like forever ago.
It does.
That's how long this weekend was. But the draft, by the way, I loved the draft. I sat back most of the week. If I wasn't out golfing, I was at home glued to the couch watching 5th and 6th and 7th round draft pick. So exciting.
You're better than me.
But no, look, the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm not a big fan of how they handled the draft. I think two things could be true, Keith. I think you can argue, depending on how you look at the draft, the Bengals get 2 grades from me. As far as the overall talent that they got, I like the overall talent that they got, but did it address the needs? Well, you could say, well, if they got the talent, then the talent addresses those needs. But sometimes before you can get to the big picture, you got to shore up the short picture. And the short picture is you passed up on Penny Sewell, the number one prospect at the number one need that you have, with the understanding that fans kept telling me, and those who were angry at me, saying, well, there's plenty of guys in the second round that are going to have first round grades, and he went.
You said all the way through every round. There's fifth round guys that you had rated in the second and third round.
So it was just I was underwhelmed by what they did to shore up that offensive line. But I had a feeling they were going to pass up on Penei Sewell. And on the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on 1410 Wing Game, we always do these parody 30 for 30s. And I had one made for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know that you saw my passionate blow up on Thursday.
Yes, Thursday night.
When I was like, I had an idea they were going to pass on Penei Sewell, but I didn't actually think that they were going to pass on Penei Sewell. You didn't want it to come true. And they passed on Penei Sewell. Here is my Bengals 30 for 30 parody that I made for the Bengals passing on Penei Sewell and taking Jamar Chase, who I think is a great receiver. Both things can be true. I think they're down for passing on Penei Sewell, and Jamar Chase is going to be really, really good. Both could be true, but check it out. My 30 for 30 for the Cincinnati Bengals, and my reaction to, of course, them passing on Penei Sewell to take Jamar Chase.
If the Cincinnati Bengals don't draft an offensive tackle, they should be disbanded and revoked from the NFL. They got to keep this guy upright and healthy. It was irresponsible what they did last year.
What if I told you that the Cincinnati Bengals learned nothing from Joe Burrow's season-ending injury in 2020?
Now Burrow, oh boy, clutching his left leg. Oh no.
With the number 5 pick overall and the best tackle available, the Bengals pick seems pretty obvious.
I don't think that there's even a question. When you have a shot at Penei Sewell, you take him and you keep your quarterback upright so that he doesn't get murdered every single Sunday.
But if Penei Sewell was sitting there, Joe Burrow's season ended because you couldn't protect him. And Joe was playing really well. To me, absolutely, it's a no-brainer. Protect your asset.
What if I told you that the Cincinnati Bengals failed Joe Burrow once again?
The Cincinnati Bengals select Jamar Chase.
Oh, you've got to be f***ing kidding me. What a bunch of...
Hey, easy now. Easy. Voice guy, come on, stick to the script. Just read the script.
My bad. But seriously, what's wrong with them? Fix the O-line, man. Anyways... It's Justin Kinner's latest award-winning 30 for 30. This is why we just can't have nice things. The embarrassing and disappointing tale of the Cincinnati Bengals.
And there you go.
And there you go.
And there you go. I didn't make a lot of friends over the weekend when we released it, but
and they said we replayed it again on the Keith Byars show. How dare you?
I mean, I'm going to rub salt in the wound. I promise you that much. So I'm going to throw this everywhere I possibly can. But I got a good kick out of it, and I enjoy making those.
That was really good. It was really good. And I know the Bengal fans didn't like it, but hey, that's this time of the year is about. You know, like I told you last week before the show and before the draft, what every team was going to say after the draft. So I gave you the answer in advance. This morning I was doing some homework. I went through everybody's draft picks and, put a general consensus on what did everybody said, what grades they gave their teams. All A's, all B's, and 1 C. Houston is the only team that the quote unquote pundits graded their draft as a C. So that means everybody did really good. And we all know come September, when we look back at the draft, man, how'd they draft this guy there? Whether good or bad or indifferent. It's a crapshoot. It's all, you only drafting on potential, on what you hope these guys are. So if I'm a Cincinnati Bengal fan, I'm hoping Penei Sewell is a bust. Because then you can come off it later on and say, well, see, we knew he wasn't that good anyway. That's why we took Jamar Chase. And like Justin just said, two things can both be true. I absolutely love Jamar Chase. I think he's a great pick no matter when you're able to get him. But Cincinnati, there's other receivers out there. I know you're going to say there's other linemen out there. But you have to draft your need right now. That's the reason why you're drafting that early, to get exactly who you want. And I guess, prior to the draft, I said, how do you have somebody, higher at, when the Bengals pick 5, higher than Penei Sewell? And I guess you did. You had Jamar Chase on your board higher than Ben and Penei Sewell. So if Jamar Chase is available when you pick at 5, you're going to get him. And that's what they did. And I'm not in the Bengals front office. I don't make those decisions. But gee whiz, it would seem so much like a layup. It was such an easy pick for them. And this is what frustrates a lot of Bengal fans. And, you know, they're letting their emotions get involved instead of your head. You know, you can't do that. Yes, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had a great connection for 2 years at LSU in college. You know, that was great. But does that translate to the NFL? Sometimes it does, of course. But you can't let what happens on Saturdays affect what happens on Sunday. You know, you're at LSU and you're playing against great talent week in, week out. That doesn't mean they are better than this NFL talent, because they're not. And I cheer for the Bengals. I cheer for the local teams. I want to see them do well, just not as well as my Eagles or my Patriots or my Dolphins or my Jets. But nevertheless, those 4 teams I play for, I want to see the teams, you know, here in Ohio do extremely well. Well, that being said, my draft grade for the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm giving them a B. Just like everybody else, I'm giving them. It's really hard to mess it up because you're drafting on potential. I would have given them an A if they had a draft Peninsula first. But I think most of the needs they went after, you know, they filled it, and let's just hope these names turn into playmakers. Where these names, you know, they're Jackson Carman, he's a local kid from, you know, just Fairfield, was between Dayton and Cincinnati. Went to Clemson. He was an Ohio State commit, and then all of a sudden he flipped over to Clemson at the last minute. But I won't hold that against him. I hope Jackson Carman is a great, great player for the Bengals, you know, and make everybody forget that Penei Sewell was available in the first round. And I hope he has a great career here in Cincinnati. They got an edge rusher in the 3rd round, Joseph. I'm only going to try to say his last name. But if he makes more and more plays, I will be able to say his last name. And so hopefully, you know, that really works out well, you know, for the Cincinnati Bengals. I really, you know, want them to come down to a battle of Ohio for who's going to win the AFC North. That should come through Ohio. And it just hasn't happened yet. So this is steps in the right direction. So I do give the Bengals an overall grade, a B. It could have been an A if they would have drafted differently, but we'll see. We'll see. This is the honeymoon phase. You know, the draft, the wedding was on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It was a 3-day marriage, 3-day wedding. And everybody across the NFL is pleased as punch with their draft picks. You know, oh yes, I told you how it was work out. Whoever they drafted in the 3rd round, they had him rated higher, you know, in the 1st or 2nd round. Whoever they drafted in the 5th round, they were shocked he was still there in the 5th round. They thought he'd be gone by the 2nd or 3rd, and he fell into their laps all the way through the 7th round. And even the free agents they signed, they were like, wow, we didn't think he'll be available as a free agent. We thought somebody would swoop him up, and we're happy to sign this free agent. That's all good, happy talk, his marriage talk. And now they're on a honeymoon. And the honeymoon will last until training camp. You know, and then once training camp comes in, then the rubber starts to meet the road. And then by the first game of the season, when they made the cuts and the final cuts, then we look back here at what happened in April, you know, as far as who they drafted and did they draft the right guy. And then the season starts, and then we'll go on from there. But like I said, every year at the NFL draft, everybody's going to say the same things, but you really don't know how good your draft is for 3 years, 4 years. How many of those draft picks are still on your roster after 3 and 4 years? How many of those draft picks that you drafted in 21 are starters, you know, in 3 years? Hopefully they're starters in year 1 and year 2, but certainly by their 3rd year, they need to be starters. That is a successful draft. How many Pro Bowlers are in this draft? We have, you know, you don't know. Hopefully the Bengals have, you know, at least 1 or 2. You know, that would be a great draft, and you can draft two Pro Bowlers. God forbid if you get 3, 4, and 5 out of the same draft. Those are successful drafts, but we don't have those answers today, and you won't have those answers for a little while. But we will see. We'll see. Now let's move on to the Cleveland Browns before we go to break. The Cleveland Browns, my overall grade for them was a B. The Browns drafted later in the draft. They didn't draft till 26, and they hadn't heard that in a while. They're usually one of the first 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 picks of the draft. So for the Browns to draft that late in the first round, good on them. Good. And they got a good player. in the first round. They got Greg Newsome out of Northwestern, defensive back. Him and Denzel Ward be playing. I'm sure you don't draft a defensive back in the first round and sit the bench. So he's going to come in there to start. And Northwestern last year, their pass defense was one of the top in the country, if not the best. So when Northwestern played Ohio State in the bowl game and Chris Olave was out, and they was like, man, Justin Fields didn't play that well. Well, look who he was playing against. Northwestern's defense was pretty good. And that's the same game where Trey Sermon set the single-game rushing record at Ohio State. That's because they couldn't throw the ball. They couldn't, and we was able to run the ball. But Greg Newsome, he was doing a heck of a job out there playing. When's the last time Northwestern had 2 first-round picks? Or when's the last time Northwestern had a first-round pick? So that was a really, really good team, and the Browns recognized that, and they got a defensive back, and I'm expecting big things out of Greg Newsome. And the Browns continue to, to fill some of their other needs. They're, a couple plays away from being a division winner last year. And they did. They had a successful, run in the playoffs. Now can the Browns take the next step? Well, draft picks like they just made this past Thursday, Friday, Saturday are steps in the right direction. I'll say it all the time on my show, and I will continue to say it. If you want to have a good regular season, you better have a good off season. And so far, between the Bengals and the Browns, off season moves, of course they can be better, but in the draft, they've done a pretty decent job on potential in the draft, so they still have a chance for success. The Browns needed edge rusher. Wasn't as pressing since they signed Clowney, and hopefully he's going to have his best year. And so the Browns are moving in the right direction. And I'm going to say this before we go to break, and then I'm going to talk more of it after the break. We're talking about the draft right now, and something I always say at the top of my show. When I talk about coronavirus and things of that nature, I always bring up, Black Lives Matter. I tell you, it's not, it's now, not later. It's not a slogan, it's a movement. And the other thing I talk about is systematic racism. It needs to end, and it needs to end right now. And that's, people don't understand what systematic racism is and what it's not. It always has to be something horrific. Like what happened to George Floyd, it was Derek Chauvin, murdering, George Floyd or something, incidents like that. Yes, it is that and much, much more. Even in the world of sports, there's systems that are in place. Now, we'll talk about this more after the break, but the draft was just for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. How many players got drafted? 259 players were drafted in this year's NFL draft. Congratulations to you all. And I say that with not a hint of sarcasm. I'm very excited whatever round you went in. That's a lifelong memory. To you, and nobody can't take away from you. Even all the guys who signed as, unsigned free agents, those are great memories. But it's still not as great as when you're one of the draft picks, 259 players drafted. Those are great things. And like I said, good on you. Congratulations to you. But of 259 players picked, not one, let me repeat that, not one player out of 259 was drafted came from an HBCU, a historically black college or university. How is that? Not one out of 259 players. We'll talk more after the break. You're listening to Keith Byars radio show presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
It's the Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
There's been a lot of talk about the chicken sandwich wars lately, but only Lee's Chicken Sandwich is made famous. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, homestyle happens here with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. You'll get a fresh, never frozen chicken breast in your choice of famous recipe or spicy, topped with chipotle ranch and pickles on a brioche bun, all served with a regular side and drink. Get a taste of fame with our chicken sandwich combo for only $5.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
The Meyer Distribution Center in Tip City, Ohio is hiring for warehouse positions in all units, which include flexible schedules, best-in-class benefits, enhanced starting wages, and $500 sign-on bonus. Interested candidates should call 937-669-9109, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday, or walk in for an interview. Walk-in interviews are strongly encouraged and available Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call 937-669-9109 for an interview. Meyer is an equal opportunity employer.
To all you do-it-yourselfers, get ready to welcome Fram into the fam. Because America's #1 oil filter brand now has their own new line of motor oil and fluids. And it's only at Advance and CarQuest Auto Parts. Stop into Advance and choose from 4 new Fram oil change bundles starting at just $20.99. They have the oil and filters you need to keep your engine running stronger, longer. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
Today's pros need today's tools, and nobody understands that better than the Home Depot. Our app makes it simpler to get supplies ordered and delivered. Our online project calculators cut guesswork and last-second supply runs. Job site delivery puts what you need where and when you need it. And rental puts the right equipment in your hands, but not your overhead. That's how today's pros get more done. New tech, new tools, old-fashioned hard work. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
Do you hear My Computer Career ads and think, I don't know anything about computers? Well, you don't have to. Before starting, many graduates could turn a computer on and off, and that's it. And now they're IT pros. You could do it too. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. You could start your new life in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career.
Sorry to interrupt your jams, murder mystery podcasts, or motivational beach noises, but we got something else you might like to hear. It's called cash. That's the sound of an extra $250 after your first 10 deliveries with Uber Eats. That's right, an extra $250 on top of all the other cash you'll make during those first 10 deliveries. If that sounds good, visit t.uber.com/extra250. Uber Eats, deliver with us. Limited time offer, terms apply. See t.uber.com/extra250 for more details.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Need a U.S. passport? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. Visit one of our convenient auto title locations in Huber Heights, Clayton, downtown, Moraine, and Centerville. Make us your first destination before you travel abroad. No appointments ever needed. We do passports.com for more info.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes. No-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
If you've got an insurance question, you could talk to a park ranger, but the only quotes they'd probably give you would be about the beauty of a fallen leaf or ripples in a pond, not the kind that could save you money on your policies. Or you could talk to your local Geico agent, who's an expert navigator of the insurance landscape. They could use their expertise to guide you on ways to save hundreds on your policies, while leaving it up to your park ranger to save the wilderness and any endangered picnic baskets. Go online to geico.com/local to find a Geico agent near you.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
Gotta finish this today.
Cristiano's construction projects typically run smoothly, but this project's pipeline is about to burst.
Yo, boss, where you want us to put this? To the left. Your other left. John.
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio. He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer.
Look at him go! Something runs out of his shoe. He's running so fast.
And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots.
Watch for the great block by Keith Byars on Pepper Johnson. Bam! Right there. Byars just nailed it.
He's Dayton's own Keith Byars. It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Man, that football music is, that's just an orchestra today. That's football music. You want to play. Oh, I get goosebumps. I'm ready. I got a game tonight. It's Monday night coming up. But no, nevertheless, it feels like football season since this is more or less a NFL draft wrap-up show that I have going on here. The phone numbers, the lines are open at 937-457-9464. Or you can hit me at Twitter, KAB41, and I've always answered a few questions on Twitter as well. But before I went to break, I was talking about the draft, and it's 259 players this year was drafted into the league, and everybody's excited no matter what round you went in. Your family and friends are around you, surround you, and when you get the phone call, it's a great feeling. And I was watching some of the guys get drafted in the first round. Oh, they're so excited. Even guys drafted in the fifth round, they're so excited. Even guys drafted in the seventh round, because it is a big deal to be drafted into the National Football League. But like I said before the break, of the 259 players that were drafted into the National Football League, zap, however you want to say it, none of them from an HBCU, none of them from Central State, none from Howard, none from Florida A&M University, none from South Carolina State, none from Grambling. You choose a black college, doesn't matter. Alabama State, where Mississippi State, where's Jackson State, where Deion Sanders is from, coaching now. Eddie George is a new coach at Tennessee State. No black college, HBCU, had a draft pick. I think that's terrible. I think it's terrible. Because what are you saying by not drafting any? Just last year, University of Dayton, they had, was it the tight end Justin, second round pick? At Dayton. Didn't he go to second round for New Orleans Saints?
Adam Troutman. Yep.
So
caught a few touchdowns. You can think about that. His very first career touchdown pass come from
Drew Brees. Yes.
So that's pretty special.
That's special. And that's
from little old Dayton.
From Dayton. And Dayton
don't come from small school.
Yes.
Why would you look at talent does come from small school.
What is Dayton? Division 3?
So there you go. Huh?
Dayton is Division 3, correct? Division what?
They're
not Division 1. They're not Division 1. That's basketball. They're Division 1 in basketball. Football, they're Division 3. Or whatever they call it now. They're not. Their stadium is not big enough for Division 1. But while you're doing the research, you mean because Dayton football is not better than HBCU football? There's a reason why Dayton doesn't play Central State. Maybe just not the same. And I'm putting it on the NFL, all NFL teams and scouts. There's no way you're going to convince me that the HBCU talent is not NFL ready. In a year,
they're an FCS school.
FCS, okay.
So they're Division 1 FCS.
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, they just changed the terminology. I'm just used to Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and NII.
So you're either Division 1 or you're not. I don't get why they do all these subcategories.
I know.
And to be honest with you, we've talked about this before. I don't even think some school based on when you look at how big Ohio State, Bama, and these others are, for Bowling Green and Ohio State to both be considered D1 is just, and that's no disrespect to Bowling Green, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, how you say, it's D1 versus D1. Does it ever look like a D1 matchup when those two play? And that's no disrespect to Bowling Green. That's just the reality of it. D1, so that's, I think it's strange how we classify these. But your show,
I like where you're going. It's closer in basketball when you're talking, Bowling Green basketball against Ohio State basketball. There's only 5 guys out there, and you got 1 or 2 you can help limit against the other 3. But in football, when you got 22 starters on offense and defense and 22 starters on offense and defense, it's a big gap. It's a big gap. They're not nowhere near as deep as that. With that being said, you can go up to Canton, Ohio, and go into the NFL Hall of Fame and read the logo and read the bio of those players. They're full of HBCU guys. So, they're full of guys from historically black colleges and university or in Canton Hall of Fame, in the NBA Hall of Fame. Now, you mean to tell me here we are 2021, they don't have any more NFL quality talent at those colleges? I call hogwash. That's simply not true. That is a system that's in place where you're not looking at these players as much and as close as you used to. And we're in an information age. We got way more information, 24-hour news cycles than you ever had before. So there's got to be a choice for you not going to recruit these guys. I mean, how are you not going there and viewing them as somebody really viable? I hate to even use the word, say, slip through the cracks. They're not slipping through the crack when you go to HBCU. That's a choice to make. And I'll take HBCU, talent, as far as against mid-major talent all day long. But it's the way you review it. So Trey Lance, North Dakota State. No, you can go to North Dakota State and find some talent there. I mean, yes, Carson Wentz come from that school a few years prior. But come on, really? Really? You can't go to any HBCU and find a draftable talent. There's no way you're going to tell me that. That's, no. That's a 9, that's a 10, that's 11, that's a 12. It's horrible. And that is a system, because there are definitely draft-worthy players in the HBCU. It just is. I mean, the NFL, like I said, Canton's Hall of Fame is full of them. You need a couple of names. How about Richard Dent? He went to Tennessee State, great Chicago Bear. South Carolina State produced the great linebacker Harry Carson. That just give you 2 quick names. I don't know. I can't. Bob Hayes from Florida A&M University. He's a Hall of Famer. But there's plenty more. That I could name, and I'm not going to get into that. But I'm telling you, it's not like the talent has went away. Just, my fellow College Football Hall of Fame inductee, Steve McNair. What school did he go to? Oh, yeah, that's right. He went to Alcorn State. And arguably one of the greatest receivers ever played the game of football, Jerry Rice. Where did he go? Oh, Mississippi Valley State. Oh, historically black college and university. My point has been made. There's no use to overkill that point. And I'm sure Eddie George is going to have something to say about it. Deion Sanders has already said something about it. There's no way the National Football League can overlook that kind of talent. Because when Trey Lance got drafted number 3 on Thursday night, I was happy for him, and I was like, the biggest message that I see with him going third is that, locally and even abroad, when I talk to high school kids, they fall in love with logos. I want to go to Power 5 school in football. I want to go to, this Division I, this, that. I need a better offer. Go where it's best for you, regardless of the logo on the helmet or what's across your chest and, on the jersey. Go where it's best for you, and the talent will find you. That's what it should be. But apparently the talent isn't finding these HBCU guys. I mean, they're just a talent, and they should make some rosters this year. And that's a system that has to be broken down. You call it racism. That's one word. You can call it laziness is another word. Come on, guys, get out there and scour the country And you don't even have to necessarily get on a plane to get it. Everybody has film. You could do all this extra homework, hire more staff to get out here and see the talent that is available. It's shame on the NFL. Shame, shame, shame. Somebody has to say it. It shouldn't just be me, and I hope it's not just me. I hope other radio shows and other, will let the NFL know that that's not acceptable. And I'm not asking for no tokenism and you throw us a token pick. No, it's not about that. These are quality guys that deserve it. Because I look at the other end of the spectrum. Well, we only have 259 picks. I get that. And I get it totally. And it's going to be some guys that wasn't drafted in this draft that will make the team. There's a few Buckeyes that I hope make the teams that didn't get drafted. Justin Hillard, he signed as an unrestricted free agent. Signed free agent with San Francisco. I hope he makes the team. Tuff Borland, middle linebacker from Ohio State. He didn't get drafted, but he signed as a free agent with the Minnesota Vikings. I hope Tuff makes the team. That would be awesome. Those things happen. So we'll be free agents that will make NFL teams. But if you go to the HBCU, kind of signal that sending to a high school kid. Yeah, you don't want to go there because you want someday possibly get drafted into the National Football League. They don't draft HBCU guys. And that simply should not be true. It's true in 2021. It shouldn't be true any other year because there's always going to be talent out there that gets overlooked. This summer we're going to have the NBA draft, and there's going to be some names that come up and get drafted. I never even heard of him. Oh, yeah, that's because he lives overseas. He's an overseas player, and they got him drafted. They got him rated this high, and you don't even know these guys. But the NBA is good now. They're scouring the world to try to get, some top talent. So the NFL, shame on you. You got talent right here in your backyard that are worthy of a draft pick. And, you only have 259 of them this year. So make it happen. And that's not asking for tokens. Get out there and do your work and study instead of, going by, this small group of guys, make a consensus about it, man. And then that small group grows and grows and grows. Because this time last year, there's no way you're going to tell me that Justin Fields was not one of the top quarterbacks returning in college football. And then we watched college football season this year. And if you watched it with a neutral eye or whatever, there's no way you're going to say a quarterback played head and shoulders better than Justin Fields this year. Now, I know Clemson won a national championship 2 years ago, and then they had a freshman quarterback by the name of Trevor Lawrence. And when Trevor Lawrence, team won a national championship against Alabama his freshman year, oh, man, if he was coming out now, he'd be the first player picked. And that narrative have held strong for 2 years, no matter what Trevor Lawrence was doing or not doing at Clemson for the next 2 years. He was going to be the number one pick. That's laziness also. There was never even a question of anybody else other than Trevor Lawrence being the number one pick. And that decision was made on a Monday night in January 2 years ago. At the NFL, they get away with that nonsense. And I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence should or should not have been the number one pick this year, but it was like a head and shoulders. It was like a no-brainer. That's just some matter of skin who's going to be picked 2 through whatever. But we know who the number one guy is going to be. Now, Justin Fields was drafted in the first round. Kudos, number 11 pick overall to the Chicago Bears. And I hope Justin Fields goes on to have a tremendous career for the X amount of years, whether it's 10 plus years or whatever. I wish nothing but the best for Justin Fields. But based on evaluation and everything I've seen on film and what I haven't seen on film, you have 2 quarterbacks drafted ahead of him. 3 quarterbacks drafted ahead of him. You have Trey Lance at 3, Zach Wilson at 2, right ahead of him. Now, Trey Lance, he didn't even play last year. He opted out. He hasn't played a game in over 16 months. But you still have, so if Justin had opted out of this past season, what would he ended up at? Would he still would have been a first rounder? I believe so, but would he be 11 or worse? Probably worse. And it's the evaluators, they get together and they all protect each other's jobs. And they say, okay, let's talk about this guy. What's the general consensus? And let's ride with it. So if we're wrong, we're all wrong. And if we're right, we're all right. But we're there protecting our jobs. Now, I mentioned something else about systematic racism. It's certain ways, certain guys they talk about. I mean, like Wilson, they were talking he had a tremendous year at BYU this past year. But now you mean to tell me the BYU played the same talent that Ohio State plays? No, not even close. But some of the things they were talking about him had nothing to do with football. Look how Hollywood handsome he looks. Oh, I mean, it's like, what does that got to do with football? Can he throw the ball? Can he read the defense? Can he help lead his team? And all that, but they never said that about African American athletes. They never call them Hollywood handsome, even though I'm Hollywood handsome. But they never said that about me. And if they never do, that's just kind of like a culture that they put out there. It has nothing to do with football. But I wish them all well. I wish Trevor Lawrence the best. I know Urban's going to need it. Urban's going to want to see, and there was pressure on Urban. Why don't you take, Justin Fields? He played for you. No, he didn't play for Urban. He came there after Urban left. So he didn't have any direct ties, with him. But we will see. We will see, and I want Trevor Lawrence to do well, and I'm not cheering against any other quarterbacks. So I want to see Justin Fields do great. Call me Buckeye bias. Speaking of the Buckeyes, Alabama had 6 first-rounders in the draft this year, and they tied a record, whatever that means, with University of Miami from 2004, I believe, for the most first-round picks. But at the end of the day, Alabama had 10 players selected of 259 players. And that was the most, only tied by who? The Ohio State University Buckeyes. They had 10 players drafted too. Yes, they didn't have 6 first rounders, but Alabama and Ohio State, they still, they competing for recruits and they competing for draft picks. So they both ended up with 10 players drafted. So kudos to both schools. Just a little extra kudos to the Buckeyes having 10 players drafted in the National Football League. And let's just be honest, that also helps in recruiting, because when kids choose a college, a lot of times they want to play on Sundays also. They want to have the opportunity to get to the NFL. And what better university gives you that opportunity than Ohio State? So, yeah, I get it. I understand it. But those are all part of the games. But by my original point, when I brought it to HBCUs, they need to be strongly considered too as viable options. And I don't know how we are trying to get away from drafting those guys in the National Football League and even showing more of their games on television. They need to be seen more as well. And that's not taking anything away from the mid-majors like the MAC Conference, the Sun Belt Conference, and things of that, and the schools of that nature. But if we're really doing real scouting and we're going out here saying we're going to scout the country to get the best players available, I say see the whole country, not certain parts of it. See every conference, not just certain conferences. Now, if you have to hire more people, you have the money, do it. Get out there and do it. And, I know one person can't see them all. I can't watch them all, but that's why it's called a division of labor. Hey, you're responsible for this region, and then you need some other helps in that region to get guys, drafted. And you have to do that. I just think it was Everson Walls. He's a great cornerback for the Justin's Dallas Cowboys. He was an unsigned free agent out of Grambling State University. And some would say, hey, he had a Hall of Fame career. He would definitely get my vote. But even Dallas Cowboys, they just draft Eric Williams out of Central State University right here. Hall of Fame, tackle. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he will be someday. The HBCUs are full of talent that has to be recognized, because before segregation, before desegregation, I should say, before integration happened, all these guys were going to historically black colleges and university. for years. It wasn't until the 70s when Alabama started recruiting black athletes. And, the SEC as an overall was late to the party. The Big Ten was one of the earlier conferences of, integrating. Ohio State has African-American Hall of Famers, All-Americans even back in the 40s, but those are outliers. But there's no excuse for the historically black colleges, university not having a draft pick in 2021. That's just not acceptable. They play great football in those other conferences. Yes, we're in Big Ten country here, and we love our Big Ten football. I used to live in SEC country. They love the SEC football. You live out west, they love their Pac-12 football and Big 12. Yes, great football is played everywhere, as the point is. Everywhere, not just in certain conferences and certain demographics. So this time next year, after the 2022 draft, it better not be nowhere near 0 draft picks from the HBCUs. I'm sure Eddie George and Deion Sanders are going to be on their soapboxes, screaming about that. And they should not be alone. A lot more of us need to be on there, and calling right when things are right and calling fouls and things when they're wrong. And that was foul of the National Football League. 32 teams, 7 picks, and not one of y'all saw a guy in HBCU and said, I got to have him. I didn't say a first rounder, but certainly between the first and the 7th round, because you can go to North Dakota State and deem a guy first round worthy. You can go to an HBCU and see a guy and call him first round worthy. In the last first round at HBCUs, in my quick memory to me, is Steve McNair. I think that was 1995, something like that, 95, 96, draft when they drafted Steve McNair. You mean tell me HBCUs haven't had a first rounder since then? I had to do my research on that one, but that's the only one that jumps out of my mind as quickly. But we can go to a MAC school and find a number 1 pick, even a number 1 overall. Eric Fisher. Where's Eric Fisher from, Justin? Central Michigan? For the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he had a Central Michigan or Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, one of those Michigan schools. He was the number 1 overall pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you can rate a MAC guy that much higher than the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the SEC, you most certainly can find a draft pick, whether it be first round or 7th round, of an HBCU guy. Central Michigan was there. What year was that? 2000 what?
2013.
2013. So in 2013, number 1 overall pick was from Eric Fisher from Central Michigan. Come on now. Come on, NFL. You have got to do better. And we're better than a former player to call you on it, because I've been in the system. I know I've seen all the in and out, inner workings of it. With that being said, and that's the last point I'm going to leave with you. You've been listening to the Keith Byars Radio Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Get out and do random acts of kindness. Have a great, great week, and take care of your fellow man. God bless you. See you next time.
It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, right here on Dayton's home of the